It's turning toxic at Ashton Gate. Is that fair? Things got very toxic at Ashton Gate, says Suts. I've not heard anything like it in over 10 years of being a supporter there. It's unbelievable that it has come to this. What are your thoughts on those Lansdowne out chants, which you heard at the West Brom game? Welcome back to Where Robins Walk. We've got Liam and Dal fresh back from that game, who can hardly believe their eyes at how bad that performance is. 7 days on from us saying that he hasn't lost the dressing room. Now some fans are saying he's lost the dressing room. What is your thoughts? Great to have your company back with us on 20 more minutes of course, Bristol City Chat. Do drop us a subscribe if you haven't already done so. We love making this content for you. It's our last one for a couple of weeks as well as we head into the Easter break. Some of these players definitely don't deserve a break, though, Liam, do they? We'll get into all of that in a minute. Are you all right, though? I mean, this season is flatlining.
Yeah, I can't see where our next point is coming from, let alone anything else. I would just end the season now if we could. It's got to be the worst I've seen us in 30 years supporting the club. It was really, really bad.
Yeah, let's get into the chants then, shall we? Against the Lansdowns, Dal, is it merited?
It is merited, but I don't think it was the right time and place yesterday to do it. I think the frustration I felt yesterday was on the head coach and the players yesterday for the lack of effort, and passion and intensity, tempo. You're playing at home, and I thought it was really poor yesterday. I get it with the chance. I understand the frustrations and with Steve Lansdowne and the ownership, I get that, and we're hoping that either some investment comes in the summer or he does sell up. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He wants to probably sell up. He knows it's the right time, and he's put a lot of money in over the years. So, I'm not a huge fan of his, but I just thought yesterday the frustration and the anger really, it's a bit of an easy call really when they did it yesterday. But I thought yesterday, and you'll probably lead on to it, the players and the head coach yesterday, that was on their watch yesterday. Regardless of injuries, that was a really, really poor performance, and there's no excuses. You're playing for the badge, for the club that you're playing for, you're paying your wages, you're playing for the supporters, and you're playing for your teammates. And on all three counts yesterday, it was really, really poor. We looked really, really poor yesterday, all over the pitch. And speaking to West Brom fans on coming out of the game yesterday, they couldn't believe how bad we were. And they're not a great side watching them yesterday, but we were even worse. That tells you how bad we were.
We'll get onto the players in a minute, Liam, but just staying with the Lansdowne bit, there's a lot made about money at the moment. We'll just have a look at the financial figures for Bristol City. You can see there, £18 million lost, or pre-tax loss in 24-25. And you can see the number of clubs losing money in the EFL. It's not a profitable business, and actually you're only sustainable now if your owner wants to keep putting their hand in the back pocket. Should fans be more thankful for Lansdowne, given the consistent levels you've been in the Championship for?
I think we have to be thankful to a degree. I think we've all alluded to it in the past. We wouldn't have the training facilities. We wouldn't have had the ground we've got. He has spent a hell of a lot of money over the years that he's been here. I think what we're seeing now is, I think he's losing the passion for it. He keeps saying he wants Premier League football and he wants promotion, but each year, I mean, last January under Manning was the same. He didn't sign. I think we're one of the only. I think it was about 2 or 3 clubs not to sign a player in January, and we were the only one. We were amongst that. Fast forward to this January, just gone. We've sold our best players, arguably our best 2 performing players this season, because they both cited in their interviews with their new clubs the lack of ambition. They've moved to a new project because of the ambition of the owners and etc. etc. Just not getting that feeling from Lansdowne anymore. I think this whole looking for a sporting director to come in, I think that is possibly put in line with a lot of other clubs. It's with a sporting director in place, someone buying a football club, that adds to it, I think. it means they don't have to look for that sort of thing. So is this a case of he's now looking to fill positions where other clubs are doing, so it is more of an appealing buy for someone? I don't know. Yes, we've lost a lot of money. I think, like you said, most clubs are. It only seems to be the parachute payment teams that don't. So it's a double-edged sword. You can be thankful for everything he's done, but at the same time, not showing us the ambition in January has massively killed our season. So it depends which angle you're going to come from.
I think the other thing that gave him quickly is I think this time, obviously last year when we finished in the playoffs, even the day after the playoff semi-final defeat against Sheffield United, Liam Manning came out, didn't he? Liam and said about the ambition, and he said about the club needed to kick on, and we didn't do it. And I think we're just treading water at the moment and waiting. And this is where the fans' frustration is the treading water at the moment until investment comes in or he sells up. And I think he's going to get a bit of a shock, to be honest, because I think the season ticket renewals are going to go right down at the moment.
I'd be surprised if they get 12,000.
And I think if he's not going to invest in the transfer market, he's already come out and said that in the January the interview he did on the radio. So it just leaves fans feeling very, very underwhelmed, because if he's still in charge of the season, he's not going to go. He's not going to go and put his hand in his pocket. He's not going to give the head coach any money, regardless who it is. So, you're feeling now, and players, the better players, if they don't sign, like your Knights, your Birds, McCoy, all leaving the summer, and the way things are drifting at the moment and what we're seeing on the pitch next season, a lot of fans, I was chatting to yesterday, do not want to renew next season because they feel that what they're seeing on the pitch now will carry on until next season, and we're going to be into a dogfight, and fans, they want to pay £800 a year to go and watch that, and if your team's struggling. And I think it's just that it's obviously it's unsettled the players, you can tell that, but at the same time there was no excuse for that yesterday, but you can see why people are fed up. And it is difficult because, like you guys have said, he's put a lot of money into the club, but it just feels that we're just getting left behind. You look at people like Hull, Coventry, that have had all these money problems in the past, Derby, and yet they seem to have overtaken us and shown a lot more ambition than what the Lansdownes are at the moment. So it feels a really, really, it's a worrying time for us at the moment on the pitch. And I think it's off the pitch is more concerning now than on the pitch at the moment because of what's going on. Especially in the summer. It's such a big summer. He does either need to show an ambition or he needs to sell up. It's one or the other.
Okay. Let's talk about Struber a minute then, shall we? Liam, do you think when we kick off the season in August that we'll see him in the dugout one way or another?
Part of me says yes, but I think an even bigger part of me says no. I think it all depends on what happens within the board, with the club. I think if he's not getting investment by middle of July, I think he'll walk. But on the flip side, I also think if he keeps losing, I think they'll sack him before the end of the season. Yeah, they'll hit the reset button. They'll get rid of him because I think that's 2 wins in 13 games now. We're just lucky we've got enough points. Mathematically, we're not safe, but I don't think teams below us are going to win enough games to drag us right down. I'd like to see him stay, but I think the longer this drags on, the more I'm feeling that he is not going to be here next season.
I think as well, going back to, you go back to the ownership, and some people, they make an argument. I heard it yesterday, the fact that they could well pull the trigger and then it deflects these performances and results, like 1 win in 8 now. And if the Struber was to be sacked, it basically takes the heat off the Lansdowne and the board, to be honest with you. So, I mean, some people are saying that, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether they would just sack him on that part. But I mean, 1 win in 8 is not great. We're conceding the first goal in the first 11 matches, the last 11 matches. And the worrying point is now is the players look like they're just not interested at all. And I don't know whether that's down to him himself. The players don't believe in him, or the players are simply downing tools. And some of them looked like they were on the beach yesterday. You could have got a beach ball out and the barbecue out on the pitch yesterday because some of them looked like flip-flops on and everything. They just didn't look like they wanted to be there after them. So, yeah, it's worrying times. Yeah.
I will add, if they do pull the plug on him to try and fend the noise away from them, I think we'll have another situation like we did with Pearson, where there'll be a bit of an uproar, and I think you'll see people stop going to the games. Yes, there are a section. There's always going to be sections of fans that say the manager has to go. But I wholeheartedly believe if they get rid of the manager, it'll be the exact same in 12 months' time with a new manager as it is now. Until something at board level or more investment or whatever you want to call it happens above where the manager sits, it'll be the same.
Yeah.
It'll just be it'll just roll 1 year into another.
Yeah. I mean, you've only got to look at Tottenham, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know, they change the manager constantly, and the problems start from the top. And you know, unfortunately, you know they've got problems whoever they bring in. So you know that you're right, absolutely spot on.
Charlton and Sheffield United, to come after the international break. I mean, your appetite for the season, Del, is it just over? Can you even be bothered now to, head to that Sheffield United game with any hope of anything?
Not really. I mean, going back to yesterday. I mean, you know, we have, regardless of injuries, I think he's not helping himself. So I get the fact that Jason Knight had to play in the middle of the three, but you square pegs and round holes again. You've got Ross McCrory playing on the left side yesterday, who's a right footer. You got Cam Pring and Seb Naylor sat on the bench. And if I was them, I'd have played one of those two. And I'd play Ayler in the middle of the three and Ross on the right, or even Ross McCoy at right back, and Cam Pring and Ayler as two centre backs, right foot and a left foot, and Seb Naylor left back. I wouldn't have Borges anywhere near the team again yesterday. It was absolutely disgraceful. His performance again. I mean, him and Burzog have been an absolute disaster. Get Knight's energy in the back of the pitch. But I mean, we're just like Liam said, it is worrying because you wonder when the next points are coming from. Charlton obviously need points to stay up still. And Sheffield United, obviously, they've got quality in their team. They're not shown on a consistent basis. So it's going to be two really tough games. But I mean, yesterday, the lack of commitment and desire yesterday was absolutely unforgivable. It really was. And your good friend Burzog, who actually jumped over the ball for a tap in, was just incredible. I mean, there was a gasp of disbelief among the crowd yesterday. And that he's got some real big problems, and Liam alluded to before we came on air. He's got to start dropping some of these players, because some of these players are on the team reputation. Twine, Reese not good enough, Borges not good enough, Sam Morsey slows the play down. He keeps coming deep and taking the ball off the three centre backs when he doesn't need to. He takes 3 or 4 touches every time he's got the ball. And he's got to start dropping players, and playing players who do want to be here. I'd rather have someone like Sam Bell and George Earthy who are going to run around and at least put some effort in and play for the club, than some of these players who just look like they can't be bothered. And that's harsh, but if you were there watching it yesterday live, there was no defending those players yesterday, no defending them whatsoever. It was disgraceful.
We will, hope for better turnaround. Then he's got quite a lot of players still staying at the club, hasn't he, over international break? Not everyone's going away, so hopefully maybe those are the sort of players he can we'll see at the Charlton game. Cheers for that passion, and if you're a passionate Bristol City fan and you haven't yet subbed to the channel, press the button, press the button down below. We're starting to run out of episodes now for the end of the season, so we're going to start doing our rewards a little bit earlier than usual. So we're going to start, if that's okay, Liam, with the goal of the season so far, scored by a Bristol City player, if you can think of one.
Go on.
Have you got one?
I was going to, initially I thought Memeti against Oxford, but I don't want to give it to someone who's not at the club anymore. So I'm going to say Bird's volley the other week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That'd be my shout.
Del?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a player who probably the only outfield player yesterday showed any sort of willingness to play for the club yesterday. Adam Randall against Portsmouth, I thought was an absolute cracker as well. So that was a good one.
All right, two shouts there. We want to know yours in the comments then, please. What is your goal? What is your goal of the season? How are we going to settle that? In fact, you settle it in the comments, please. Which of those two goals would you think should be the goal of the season? Right then, U and V then, A to Z time, please. Has anyone got anything great on this? There were some in the comments which I'm just going to go back and check. Anything for you, first of all?
I can't think of anyone with a U that played for us. Especially not in the time I've been supporting the club.
I can't think of a year. No.
Should we?
Nothing at all.
No.
Any good Umbro kits at all?
Not that I can think of. We never had. I don't think I've ever known us to be sponsored by Umbro.
Okay.
I saw underdog, maybe could we go for the underdog? For me, if it was an underdog thing, I'd have put the '94 FA Cup against Liverpool.
Yeah.
To go to Anfield and beat them was pretty good.
Yeah. We'll take that. And thank you for everyone who has commented last week. Daddy Ross Official, Jeffrey Roberts, Michael Thresher, who's always there. Thank you, Michael. Lee Church has suggested Viner for V.
Yeah,
we're good with that.
I'm happy with that. I did have. Don't know if you remember him. I think it was Hungarian, Tomasz Vashko.
Yes,
Massive centre back. It was another one of those would head a brick if it was thrown at him type.
Yeah.
But I don't think he outshines Viner, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. A big shout out to Ed McCluskey as well, who's watching in Cyprus. If you're watching further afield than Cyprus, put it in the comments, please. Trying to find our furthest away fan as well. Right, Viner for V then. Yeah, happy with that. An underdog for you gets in there. W next then, please, after the international break. Of course, 2 weeks off for these two. To get to calm down a bit and rediscover their joy for this for this club. Hope this has been some sort of therapy for you both. Anyway, right. Thanks for your comments this week. Thank you, though, of course, so much for watching. Always appreciate your comments and your likes and your subscribes if you haven't already done so. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time after, of course, these Easter fixtures. So happy Easter to all of you if you celebrate. Thank you for your support for the show. We'll see you straight away after that Sheffield United game. They're after revenge, by the way, for that 4-1 battering at the start of the season. See you then.